In a world filled with intergalactic space battles, metahuman destruction on a global scale, and psychopathic serial hauntings, there's only one team who can make sense of it all. When your world is overrun with rampant pop culture, call Loop and Larry, Guardians of Geek.
Explosion!
I think way too much about different reactions I can have to the explosion now.
We've officially reacted 57 different times to that same.
We've had a lot of the same, like, wow, like now we're just trying to tone it down a little bit. That's all we're doing.
I feel like I should make a compilation video of all of the reactions that we've had. They'll be almost exactly the same, every one of them, but slight nuances.
Pretty much. Hey, everybody, I am Loop.
And I'm Larry.
And this is Guardians of Geek, episode 57.
57.
And today we're going to be talking about Clue a little bit later on. But right now, let's just jump right into it, Larry. How have things going? What's been going on with you?
Well, it's a busy time of year, but it's also been a great time for pop culture. I just have to. So this past weekend, I did a little thing.
Do you want to go right into top pop? Do you want to do that?
Oh, is that what we're doing?
Yeah. I was just asking how your day was, but you're jumping right into it. Let's
go. Fine.
You made an opener. We might as well use it. Let's go to that right now. Here's top pop.
Hey kids, it's time for Luke and Larry's Totally Tubular Top Pop!
All right. Well, now you've sped that along. Let's jump right into top pop right now.
My day's not very exciting. I didn't need to talk about that.
I'm surprised you didn't jump right to Clue, like right off the top.
I was actually going to start talking about episode 58.
You're just right into it. You're like way beyond what we're talking about.
I don't even know what I'm doing anymore.
Woo!
So we're in the top.
It's been busy. That's what we're just. That's the basis of this. So we're close.
Yeah.
We're taping this close to the end of November, and it's almost December already. This year has flown by. So 2022. It's only like whatever. I think at this time, like 36 days till 2023.
I don't even understand. I
don't know.
My sense of timing is out the window. I have no sense of timing anymore after the 2-year pandemic. I couldn't tell you what day of the week it is. I can't tell you if it's morning or night. I have no idea.
Yeah, well, you never really know. That's the problem. Okay, so this past weekend, let's jump in there.
So this past weekend, I did a little thing just on my own. I just thought this will be a fun thing to do. There was in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. There was a small Comic-Con. It was the first year for it. It was called Retrocon. And the reason that it got me excited and why I wanted to go was because this was a very niche Comic-Con. It was literally only about Star Wars, the 50th anniversary of Atari, and Disney.
That is a weird combo.
It is a really strange combination, but it turns out that those are like 3 of my all-time favorite things.
Yeah, they are too.
Like for my whole life. So how could I not go to this thing? So I planned and I worked things out so I could get all the autographs I wanted. So they didn't have a big roster of celebrities there, but the celebrities that they had were like top notch in my opinion. So from Star Wars, they had Angus McGuinness, who was John Dutch Vander, also known as Gold Leader,
Yeah.
who flew the Y-wing, led the Y-wing squadron in A New Hope, and then again in Rogue One. Remember, they reused his footage.
Oh, right. Yeah, you're right.
From A New Hope in Rogue One. So that was really exciting because Y-wings have always been one of my favorite ships. So it was really exciting that he was there. Garrick Hagen, who played Biggs Darklighter.
Yep.
Luke's friend, and he was one of the Red Squadron who also died. Both of these guys died in like explosions in the the movie.
Did you do one of those things where like, what? They show the fire coming at them?
They both got to do that. Pretty cool, I think. But anyway, so yeah, Biggs Darklighter was there. And then the other Star Wars celebrity that they had was Roger Christian, who is the Oscar-winning set director of A New Hope. So
That's cool.
This guy literally single-handedly built, conceived of and built Luke's lightsaber. He built Han Solo's blaster. He built R2-D2.
Oh, wow.
He literally built all the weapons, the Stormtroopers' blasters, all of the weapons. He created the entire interior of the Millennium Falcon. Like, this guy, like, literally the look of Star Wars is like completely because of the creativity of Roger Christian. So
that's awesome.
It was pretty exciting to meet the guy who made Star Wars look the way it looks. And the one thing I got to ask him, which is something that I've always, thought.
Oh no.
So
when you say that, I know you're something you were thinking about for like a long time.
And
it's going to be embarrassing. So go on.
Well, maybe. So because he made all the props, I have one prop in Star Wars that is literally my favorite prop, and it's the stupidest thing, but I've always kind of wanted to know what it was made out of. It's the bar that Han, Luke, and Leia use in the trash compactor to prevent the walls from closing.
Oh, like to stop the walls from closing.
Yeah, do you remember? It's like this big tube thing. But my whole life, I thought that this tube was hilarious because it looks like it's wrapped in bubble wrap and corrugated cardboard.
It does. It totally does. Yeah.
It looks so cheap. But I've always been kind of obsessed with this. And then they reused it in the new trilogy. It made an appearance again a couple of times, and I thought that was so cool because now it's like a thing that it's
canon.
It is. So I had to ask him about that, and I said, "Was it bubble wrap?" And he looked at me and said, "No, it was not." I was like, "Oh, all right." He was actually a really nice guy, but no, he told me a little bit about he used a lot of airplane parts. Like that he found at scrap yards and stuff to put things together. But anyway,
that's cool.
So that's part of what that was. But it was just so cool to be able to talk to him and ask him finally after 45 years of being curious about this prop, being able to ask the guy who made it what it was.
So what was it made out of again? Just our airplane parts? Or
it was a tube, like a PVC pipe, and the bubble stuff around it was actually something out of an airplane. Like it was an airplane part that he had wrapped. It was metal. I thought it was bubble wrap because it looks like bubble wrap. But he said no, it was metal because this pipe was so long that it would collapse in the middle. It wouldn't stay together, so he had to wrap it in something solid, but it still wouldn't stay together. So Harrison Ford actually agreed to like hold this thing in a certain way so it made it look like it was a solid pipe, because if he had like let it go, it would have just like fallen in.
Yeah, so it was two separate pieces.
It was exactly. So that he had to hold together. So no, it was all metal. The whole thing was made of metal. It just looked like corrugated cardboard and bubble wrap to me. So now that's been dashed. But that was exciting. The guy that they had from Atari, his name is Warren Robinette. And if you're Atari fan, he's the one who created the video game Adventure, which I used to play constantly when I was a kid, and it's literally it was the world's first action adventure game, like role-playing game, that you had to find objects and open find keys, open doors, find a chalice, fight dragons. It was the coolest game. But it was also the very first game that ever had an Easter egg in it. because Atari at the time never acknowledged the developers. They refused to publicly acknowledge who developed each game,
which is weird. Yeah,
which is really weird, and it ultimately led to the downfall of Atari. But this guy Warren, he was so upset by this that he created a separate room in the game that you had to find by finding a tiny little dot that was like 1 pixel big and do a bunch of different things, and you could make it to this extra room. And if you got into this room, there was his name flashed in the center of the room, and it said created by Warren Robinette. So he put his own name in the game.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and nobody had ever done that before. And one of the executives at Atari said, that's kind of like, at Easter when you're looking for eggs under a bush, it's kind of like finding Easter eggs when you've found this thing. So that's literally where the term came from, was because Warren Robinette had put this thing in there. So his game coined the term Easter egg. And after that, because it became so popular, other video games started hiding things in their game as well. So this guy not only created the first action adventure game, which led to like Legends of Zelda and Final Fantasy and all of those games, but he also was the originator of the Easter egg.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
It was really cool to meet him. And then finally, the Disney guy that they had there, his name was Bob Gurr, and he's 91 years old, worked literally side by side with Walt Disney, and he created every single ride or parts of every single ride at Disney.
Oh, wow.
He had a hand in the Haunted Mansion and the monorail, everything. So without this guy, there would have been no Disneyland. So it was pretty cool to talk to him about how this all came together. So it was just an overwhelming experience.
Well, we had a lot of fun with it, because when you see the pictures if you're watching the YouTube part, you'll see the photos of these people, and I literally thought you're at an old age home. Because it just happened like they were all like seniors, right? Like, and it's like, of course, because Star Wars came out in 1977, so of course they would be. And but I was just laughing because I was like, who are all these like older people that you're standing with? Because I didn't recognize any of them either, because I don't know what they look like. So it was like,
no, you wouldn't recognize any of these people, but that's who they were. But it looked like kind of an old age home. But
I was wondering if you got at the concession a hot dog and some rice pudding.
Yes.
At the
we all of us
you can eat perch night at
all of us went
at Retrocon.
Liver and onions afterwards. It was great.
That does look cool. That looked really awesome, though. That looked really fun.
So it was a pretty exciting thing. I'll just have one thing to show here. I don't know if it's gonna show up, but this is the
you have to put it closer to you.
This is the poster
that
they created. Can you? I don't know if this is gonna.
No, it is like 100% gone. Oh, there it is. I see it. Yeah.
This is the poster that they created for the show.
Yeah.
There you go.
There
it is. And so I decided to have the poster signed, so you can see Biggs and Gold Leader, and there's more stuff down here, but it seems to be disappearing.
Oh, that's cool though.
They all autographed the poster. There you go. Now you can see it.
Oh, that's cool.
All of them autographed this poster for me, which was a really cool thing. It's something that a lot of Comic-Cons don't do, is create like a cool looking poster for their event.
Yeah, because I can only because I don't even know. I think Fan Expo they don't have an official poster. They just have they have the T-shirts and a logo.
I think this year they may have had a poster, but it was just
I can't remember. I know that when we go to Shock Stock, they usually do some sort of cool poster, because they have a cool one this year. Actually, it looks pretty neat.
Yeah, and so I've decided that the poster is actually a great thing to have signed.
Yeah, that's wild. That looks really good.
Then you've got all the signatures on one poster. You put the poster up, boom, you're done.
You're all done.
Yeah, that was my revelation from Retrocon.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I've gotten myself into a little project that I want to
hear about this. I know nothing about this.
And this is con related too.
Oh, okay.
So I've over the years, you and I've been to a lot of cons, and we've done a lot of photos with people and stuff like that. But I've never my photos are literally everywhere in the house. I've never collected all my photos together. So I started a book, which basically is you won't probably see this, but it's got all the photos and everything. But what I also did was we also do a lot of table photos. Yep. So I've been printing them out as well. So I printed out, there we are there.
look at us.
But I've been printing them out.
That was from our first Comic-Con in 2004.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, with
Richard Krause, who's like he's a reviewer here in
critic.
Canada. So I've been printing out all the like finding them and then printing on all the 8x10s of those as well. So
Awesome.
it's actually pretty cool. Like it's like, and because you forget all the people that you've met, even like because some were just brief at a table or whatever, and I'm like, oh my god, I forgot I met this person and this person. And like when we first started going to cons, they didn't have the professional photos for the first like probably 3 or 4 years we were there. Because the first one I ever got was with Lando Calrissian. That was the first one like I ever did. And then, but after that, it was just all table, or before that was just all table shots. So there was a lot, and like I've only done one round of table shots, like because they're $5 a shot or whatever. So I did the first round to see how they turn out, and now I'm working on a second like round of them, and then I'll do a third round, which should hopefully finish off all the rest. But it's
awesome.
But it looks good
when you take them at the table on your phone. They just sit on your phone forever. Like they don't. You don't think about printing them off. That's awesome.
One of my books is like a wrestling book. So
nice.
There's Kevin Nash down there. I don't know why this does not like photos for some
There
reason.
we go.
And there's the Iron Sheik, and Honky Tonk Man. So but it's like really cool. Like because you forget you've taken all these photos when you start going through them. I'm like, oh my god, I totally forgot I took this photo or this photo. It's like so it just sort of finishes up the book nicely. Like so I'll just keep doing them. I'm waiting for a set of like 22 shots, and then I've got another like I have enough probably for another like probably 20 shots or whatever.
Awesome.
Like
that's so great. And then going forward, you just print them off.
And then I'll put them in the book, and then I'll just keep going with it. But it was like I don't know why I thought of it, but I was just like I was thinking of all the photos I've taken with celebrities that have like never see the light of day. Like, and I didn't know what to do with all these other photos because I've never done anything with them. They're literally there's some I can't even find. Like, they're probably in a folder somewhere, but I can't find them. Like Michael J. Fox from a couple of years ago and Travolta. I have those somewhere. I can't find them anywhere in the house. Like I don't know. I like torn the house apart, but I could actually reprint them. Because I have the originals.
You've got the digital. Yeah. So that's great. That's a good project.
That's a little geeky project I'm working on right now. And then maybe I'll do some stickers on there and some glitter. I don't know. You never know what I'm gonna do.
We'll call it scrapbooking. You're gonna
this little scrapbooking, a geeky scrapbooking going on.
Geeky scrapbooking. I love it.
All right. Well, let's move on to Black Panther. We haven't talked about this yet. It came out, the newest Marvel movie. And I loved it. Like we won't go through all the hits and misses and whatever, but just my general thoughts. I thought it was fantastic. It's what a Marvel movie should be. It really differentiates itself from the show, like the shows they have. It felt like an actual like full like cinematic movie, right? So I don't have a whole lot to say about it other than I absolutely loved it. I loved what they did with Namor. I loved like the whole thing.
I totally agree. I thought it was perfect. Like to me, it felt like, I mean, we've had, what are we, phase 6 now? What are we in phase?
Oh, God, I don't even know. I think they're just fishing phase 5. I think that was, I
so
think Guardians of the Galaxy, the Christmas special, which I haven't watched yet, is the end of phase 5, I believe.
Okay. So we've had the new Doctor Strange and a couple other movies that have come out recently.
In this phase,
this Black Panther movie felt to me more like the original stuff, like the very like the early Marvel. Like it had a lot more heart. It had a lot more like sort of, you really got connected to the characters. The story was so strong. Like it was emotional. It was exciting. It was the pacing was good. It felt like what Marvel was like in the early days. You know what I mean? Well, I thought it was great.
I think they just needed to do a movie that has like some stakes, but not like huge stakes, but it felt like a cinematic movie. And this one was so well directed. And it was so emotional, and it was just like, it had all the right parts. And the thing was, before, when you're like, oh my God, how are they going to do this without, Chadwick Boseman, like without him being around? The thing is, they created so many strong secondary characters who are like basically primary characters, right? In the first one as well, that you forgot all these great characters they'd already created that can carry the series without him. And it was so good. Yeah,
it was so good. And what they did with Chadwick Boseman, like the whole movie essentially is like a tribute to him. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't over the top. Like it felt organic. Like it all felt real. Like it felt like that's how these people would be dealing with his law, like losing the real Black Panther.
And what I loved about it was they didn't lose him till like he wasn't in a big battle. They didn't start with a giant battle scene and he died. It was like he died of something like we would die of, right? Like it was like some sort of disease. They didn't say what it was, but he died of something that's like
a disease. Because in real life he died of cancer. So the fact that he actually in the movie they said he died of a disease that they it just got it, like they made it real, like they made it that's what really happened. Like I just thought that was so smart. They didn't try to superhero it, like it's he was, and it also made him more real. Like it's like a superhero who can die of a disease. Like he's not wasn't killed by aliens on a different planet or anything like he was still a human being. Like he was. I just thought that was awesome.
That opener, I gotta tell you though, like the opener when it was like the Marvel general opener, but it was all just him. I was like, I was out. I was like crying. I was like, didn't take me a lot. I'm like, oh my god, this is so good, so good. But I loved it, and I'm a big fan. Like, I mean, having read the comics for years and years, like of like Marvel comics, like Namor is like such a big character, especially in the Fantastic Four and that, and I was wondering how are they going to do him, like, and they did a great job. I was a little worried going in, but he's such an odd character. You got like a half-dressed man, like it's like how do you make him look cool, basically, like it's like what, because but they did a great job and it looked fantastic.
Yeah, so good. Highly recommended if you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, it's just so good. I loved it, and I liked how they didn't have any. They only had the one post credit scene.
Yes.
And they didn't like do like a goofy, wacky post credit. They kept the tone. The tone stayed the same for the entire movie, and didn't really include any other like Marvel characters. There was mentions of them, but they didn't really, like, none of them showed up suddenly or anything. Like
this was a pretty small story. Like it was pretty contained to Wakanda, and it was a pretty small story. Like but it was perfect. Like it was great. It was one of the better of the Marvels, and that's saying
for sure. For sure it was.
But that one was
speaking of amazing, I know we've talked about Andor, but it's now done, and we should we got to cap this, because I personally thought Andor the series was like one of the best. Like it's definitely the best Star Wars series they've done. I don't know how many. It's probably only like 3 series. I don't even know how many they've done now. It's like.
So they've done a couple seasons of Mandalorian.
Oh, Mandalorian and all that, right? I forgot about all those. And then they had Boba Fett, which was kind of the Mandalorian too. But no, it was awesome. Like, and the first few bit of it, I wasn't like I didn't like it, but I was very confused of what was going on story wise in it, like because it's very political as well in the background. So it's like it's not like. They don't spell it out for you what's happening. You got to really watch the intrigue of what's going on just beyond him, like is all the rebellion stuff and who's leading this new rebellion and who and all that. And so that was cool.
A lot of it is like how they finance the rebellion, which is I thought was awesome, because it's true. Like how did they get all the money to get like squadrons of X-wings and Y-wings and A-wings and all? Where did all this come from? Like that's what I loved about this show, is that like it was so grounded. Like I felt like, here's what I felt like. I felt like this was what was going on in Germany during World War II when the resistance movement was happening. Like this is how it would have happened. They would have had like they would have been people who were rich but needed to hide their money so that they could finance like secret organizations that were trying to rebel and do it. Like it just felt real. Like it felt like that's how rebellions actually work. It wasn't space wizards who are coming and doing fancy moves. This was like real people who were really trying to make a difference, but were afraid for their lives. Like they, it was just so good.
This one was odd too, because there was a lot more of that sort of background. Like here's like someone just going to their 9-to-5 job every day, and you can see people actually like working and doing what they do. They're not just walking around the city like in cloaks or whatever, like all day. Like they actually have jobs and they're working and they're doing what they have to do to survive in it. But you see those little nuances of the everyday life of someone on these planets. My only complaint was, and it was just, this is very minor, there wasn't a lot of aliens in it. like a lot of like other
Not really.
races, not
Yeah.
like, you know, when you go to like Maz Eisley and there's like all these different, like there wasn't a lot of other, it was almost all human.
Yes.
Like in it, which I found a little odd. Even when they went to the prison center, there wasn't really like any like other races in that, which I thought are like types of like creatures or whatever. I don't know what you call them, but
Yeah, no, you're right. I didn't really think about that, but now that I think back, you're right. It was mostly sort of human type people.
there was a few here and there, but there wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't like. But maybe they thought that would take away from the story because,
Yeah.
like, if like there was somebody like a Jar Jar Binks hanging around, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it would kind of like ruin it, like the tone of it. But I love that whole. I didn't understand quite why the part of him getting arrested was in it, but I loved that whole like the look. It almost had like a 2001
Yes.
sort of look. Like
Well,
it was just
it was inspired by George Lucas had created a movie, a student film
right.
called THX 1138 that was made into an actual
Yeah.
Hollywood movie, and that's where the prison scene came from. So
Oh, that's cool.
It looks, that's what THX 1138 looks like.
Okay, that makes
movie
100% sense then, because it was
the whole movie is based on.
it was just like
looks like
beautifully shot, and it like just it looked amazing. Like I just love
Oh,
that
yeah.
whole thing.
And I mean, I don't want to spoil anything just in case people haven't watched it to the end yet, but there is a post-credit scene at the end of the finale that you have to stick around for, because
Yeah, no, it was cool.
it
It answered some
literally-
questions.
yeah, it literally made me kind of go, yes, cool. Yeah, and I just thought that was awesome. Like they
That's so
just
cool.
wrapped everything up. It was great. The only problem now is that I don't think season 2 comes out till like 2024 or something like that. I
Jeez.
think they've just started filming, or they're just about to start filming as of the taping of this.
The thing is, it's like 2024, but you think like there's going to be another Mandalorian season in
Yes.
there, and it's going to
That's
be
so-
like
yeah,
who knows
that's
what,
so
right?
good.
So like there's so many things going on. We'll forget about it till Bad Batch, another
Yeah.
season of that, and
I
there's
think
like
the Acolyte comes out
so the
in the meantime. Yeah.
it's going to be so much that we're going to kind of forget. Also, it'll be there again, so it'll be
And don't forget the new Avatar movies coming.
okay. Let's move on to I can't think of a movie I want. That trailer. I didn't want to get into a rant because I'm going to rant on this in a second. But that trailer was before Black Panther, and I'm like, this looks terrible. There's nothing about this that looks good. Like Marvel did like the underwater world so much better. That's so like than like the Avatar ever could. Like I don't. It's just so ridiculous. But and there's no way I'm seeing that in the theater.
I totally did that just to set you off. I just wanted to see your reaction.
All right. Now you got me all angry now because of this. All right, let's just go. I got to calm down. Let's go to the pop capacitor.
Okay, here we go.
Why? Welcome back to the Pop Capacitor. This is where we look at a movie, a TV show, a book, a video game, whatever. It's something retro from our childhood, and we see if it still stands up. And today we're going to be talking about the movie Clue, which came out in 1985. And we're doing this one because Glass Onion, the new Knives Out movie, will be out around the same time you're probably watching this, or this week. I think it comes out this Friday or Thursday.
Yep.
Okay, so it's a classic whodunit, and then we thought, let's do a whodunit movie we remember as kids. And this is like the only one I can remember from a kid as a kid. is Clue is basically, because now that whole whodunit sort of, there's a revival on that sort of, like a lot of the Agatha Christie movies or books are starting to be redone into movies again and things like that. So it's kind of a thing now again. This movie is based on the board game Clue, which we've all probably played as kids. We'll talk about that in a second. Released in 85, directed by Jonathan Lynn. He co-wrote it with John Landis, and produced by Deborah Hill from Halloween fame. Produced this movie.
Yeah.
It had a $15 million budget, made just under.
Yeah.
So, it didn't do very well.
It's probably made its money back now, but it took a long time.
And then I'll just leave it at this. It's like basically, again, like with home video, has found a new audience, and it's kind of become a bit of a cult classic.
Yeah.
Beyond like it is done better in post than it did when it was actually out. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through the hits and misses of this movie, and we'll just talk about it, and then we'll just tell you if we think it holds up over time, because I haven't watched this movie in probably like 20 years at least, if not more. Like, I can't remember the last time I watched this. Could have been like 30 years ago. I remember watching as a kid a bunch of times, because we used to have like First Choice and Super Channel, which were like the HBO at the time, like the movie networks at the time when we were growing up, and like this movie was on one of them, and it played like literally every day at some point during the day. Like this was on, so I watched this a lot, because Star Wars they played a lot too, and there's some other movies that were on that sort of rotation. So so I just want to talk a bit for a second before we get into the movie itself and the hits and misses. Did you play Clue a lot as a kid?
I did. I played it a fair bit, like enough that I was really familiar with all of the characters, all of the rooms, all of the weaponry. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was like a go-to game in our house. We played it a fair bit, and I've actually played it with my son when he was growing up. We've played it a couple of times, or several times actually. So yeah, I mean, it's a timeless classic.
It is good. It's one of those games too, like that's been ruined by having like versions of it.
Yeah.
It's like there's like a Harry Potter Clue. Like it's like I like just the straight up Clue, like just the way it was originally intended. But the so we've got one of the things that I was just looking at some of the things, like how many of the weapons can you name of the six weapons that are like the most famous from the
there's the rope, the candlestick, the wrench, the gun and the knife, and there was something else. That's 5. What's the other?
The classic lead pipe.
Oh, the lead pipe.
Right. Like it's just a bit of a classic.
Yeah.
So, and there was 9 rooms, and giving the players 324 different possibilities to solve the crime.
You could play this thing almost like every day of the year and have a different ending.
That's what I thought about this game though, I found, which was kind of funny, was that like as soon as you have enough things eliminated, it kind of became where everybody knew who did it, where it was, and what was used. Yeah. And so then it was just a matter of whose turn was next.
Yes.
To basically solve it.
Yeah, how quickly you could get into a room before you could which was the roll of the dice. Yeah, totally.
But it was definitely a game of just elimination, right? Like this, like, okay, now I know this combination can't work, so this has to be gone and whatever. But so good. It's such a good game. So no surprise.
Speaking of elimination, I just want to give an update. As of a few years ago, they have officially eliminated Mrs. White. Mrs. White, if you buy the game now, Mrs. White is no longer included. They decided after 70 years, after 70 years of misbehaving, they decided to take her out. So there's a new character. Now I can't remember what her name is, but she's a young character, and she's taken the place of Mrs. White. So if you play it now, you're not gonna play
Mrs. White's out.
She's out.
So, anyway, Madame Beige is in. She's like
Madame Beige.
It doesn't make for a very colorful character, but you know, a lot of layers. So dumb. So let's start our hits and misses, and we'll just kind of pepper them in as we go. So what's one of your hits?
Okay,
we'll probably have a lot of the same hits, I'm assuming, but
I feel like we were. I also need to preface this, and this is going to be shocking.
Okay,
I have no misses. I was looking
really
high and low. I was really wanting to find misses. I couldn't write anything down. So I mean, if you have some, I might agree.
I've got 76 misses, so get ready.
I couldn't come up with any. I've got
2. I've got 2
I
misses.
love this movie. So okay, so let's start. We'll start off with my first hit. My very first hit is Tim Curry.
Oh, for sure.
Tim Curry fan. I will watch Tim Curry in anything he does. I just think he is so funny, and his sense of timing is so good, and he's just his facial expressions, he's just so like animated. And he was like, I don't think this movie would have worked without him.
No.
Because he speaks really quickly, and he's very formal, and he is just so brilliant. Now, having said that, I have a little fun fact. He was not the first choice to play Wadsworth. Wadsworth is the butler.
The butler.
No, the very first choice was a man named Leonard Rossier. But I don't really know who he is, but he actually died before the filming commenced, so he couldn't go in there. The second choice,
Wonder who killed him.
I don't know.
Let's play and find out.
Well, it wouldn't have been Mrs. Beige, Madame Beige. I can tell you that.
Madame Beige. Come on, get it right.
Second choice was Rowan Atkinson,
Oh, okay.
Mr. Bean. So they actually wanted Mr. Bean, or Rowan. He wasn't Mr. Bean at the time, but they wanted Rowan Atkinson as this. But they decided that he wasn't sufficiently well known enough. They wanted a well-known actor, but people in the United States didn't know him. So that's the only reason he didn't get the job. But that's who they wanted. Tim Curry was their third choice
Oh, wow.
to play the role. And quite honestly, I don't think this movie would have been nearly as strong without him. So he is my very first hit.
One of my hits, and I'll just, before I go on, I just want to mention that this, if you haven't seen the movie, it's like 6 people get invited to a mansion and the host dies, and then they're trying to figure out who did it, and there's a whole bunch of like zaniness. But I'll just jump on your hit for a second, which was the entire cast. I thought this was like such a cool, like, it's almost like when you have like a super group band put together. That's what this feels like. There's like everybody in it is like really good at what they do, and there's just like Michael McKean, like I love him, and he's in it, and it's just, there's so many great, like Christopher Lloyd. Yeah, Madeline Kahn. Oh yeah, it's like absolutely like who's the other guy that was in it that I really like? Martin Mull.
Martin Mull. Yeah. I had actually totally forgotten that Christopher Lloyd was in it. When the opening credits came and his name came up, I was like, what? Christopher Lloyd was in this thing? I had no memory of that at all. So yeah, it is literally an A-lister movie for the comedy giants of the 80s.
Yeah, they all have good comedy chops, as we like to say. They're all like, the timing and everything was really good in this. It's like, this is so good. Yeah. Another hit I have, and I can't even forget Howard Hessman.
Oh yes,
as like from the WKRP, like as the cop that just shows up at the end. Like he's not even in it any other time. He just like pops in at the end, but it's a good little cameo that I loved in it.
And the interesting thing about that is he did that uncredited. He's not in the credits. And he's not even listed. If you go to IMDb, he's not like Clue on IMDb. He's not listed there either. Like he's totally uncredited. And I tried to look it up and find out why he wanted to be uncredited. And there's no definitive answer. It's either because he was just doing it for fun and didn't need the credit, or there was, now I can't remember what the other issue
I wonder was. if someone saw he was in it, they'd be like, okay, he's has something to do with the murder, or he like they you know what I mean? They might try to factor him into it even though he's not hasn't been seen yet. But
yeah, that's what it was. That's what a lot of people thought, is that they kept his name out, so it was a big, like the big reveal at the end, like a big shock. Oh, it's Dr. Johnny Fever's in this movie. Like, you know what I mean? Like people who went to the theater would have been surprised to see that he was there. So,
Venus Flytrap did it, by the way. Yeah, he killed him with a record, with some vinyl. Another one of the hits I had. Actually, I'm gonna do a miss, just because you don't have any misses. I'm just gonna break this up a little bit. Yep. I found the plot and the buildup of the characters at the beginning really confusing. Like there was a point where I'm like, I don't know what's going on in this. Like I don't know who's who and why they, like, because they try to throw out all the information of like the connection. It reminded me of a murder mystery, is what it reminded me of. If you went to a murder mystery, so you're trying to throw out all these little, so you're trying to get all these clues of the relationship of this character to all the other characters, or to the host. And I just thought it was like so much, everything was said so fast, like the pacing was so fast. I missed a lot of it, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Like I don't know who's who and like what's going on. And so I found that just, they could have slowed it down just a tad. I thought like the pacing of that, like at least of the information that we need to know to help try to, because part of this is the fun of it is, as a viewer, is we're trying to solve it along with them. Yes. And when you can't, because you don't know what, like, what's the relationship between these two again, it just makes it a little more difficult.
Yeah, I can see that, because actually it's interesting that you say that, because one of my hits was that they jumped right into it. Like there was like very little setup, just like you were saying. Like, but I could see how that could be a problem too. Because
I like that. I like that they jumped into it. It's just like
right into it.
The dialogue between them. I was missing like little pieces of info. And I kind of figured it out a little later on. I'm like, okay, I see kind of where that is, but So that was definitely one of my misses for that.
Yeah, they did that. I can agree with that now. I see that could be a miss, but I did like that they just jumped right into it. Like they just
Yeah.
there's no like the pacing was great. I thought it just was like from the first minute to the last minute, it was just go go go.
No, for sure. It was
Yeah. So one of my hits is the comedy. The comedy is I just like their gags and the timing was I thought was hilarious. It's been a long time since I've literally laughed out loud in a movie and an older movie.
This is also a miss for me, by the way, too. So, but go
Oh,
on.
interesting.
It's a
Okay.
hit and miss, but go on.
Okay. I laughed a lot, like actually like giggled out loud.
Yeah, no, there's some good lines in it for sure.
Because I just thought, I mean, for example, and it's just, I mean, a lot of it's dated. It wouldn't fly now, but like right off the top, there's this dog poop gag where Tim Curry like goes outside. There was a dog, comes back in and smells like dog poop and thinks it's on his shoe, and everybody else who arrives at the at the house smells this dog poop but doesn't say anything.
Yeah, it's like a little callback to it.
It just made me laugh. I just thought it was like classic comedy. It was delivered impeccably. I just thought it was really funny. That one was. So there were a lot of sight gags and pratfalls and things like that that I just found really funny. Yeah.
Yeah, like I thought that the jokes were pretty sharp. A lot of them seemed like very like out of a joke book, you know what I mean, type of joke, like a lot of setup and punchline, setup, punchline.
Totally.
And of course, like all the actors are like bang on, like their timing is incredible with a lot of the stuff. My only miss, and this is like nitpicking it, I thought it was like some of the jokes were like a little too, like it was too many. Like it was just like bang, 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 like so rapid fire that like you either missed some of them or it was just some of them were not that great. It's like, you know what I mean? But I'd say 80% were good. It just, there was that 20% that also the like the wackiness of it was a little much at times when everybody's running into a room frantically and then and they all bump into each other and like that kind of stuff. It was just a little bit of like, it was almost like everything was played for the sake of some sort of joke. And but it just got like almost exhausting after a while. It's like, okay, which was fine. It just, we just need to slow it down a little bit. Like what I find in these movies that are as kind of missing, which is like in the newer movies, is like that sort of like biting sarcasm that are like, you know what I mean? Like that would be in a newer movie, like where they'd have like the one-liners or the that are sort of sarcastic, but this was fun. It was fun. Like it was definitely fun. I'm like nitpicking that, but it's like,
it is a wacky comedy, and the goofiness intensifies the further into the movie you go.
Oh yeah.
Like by the end of it, it is just a free for all. Like it is just like wacky central over here.
Like you could easily put the Benny Hill theme, like yakety sax, over top of this, and it would work perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just, but to me, it was like vintage comedy because it's
for sure
wouldn't work. That kind of comedy wouldn't work anymore. But with those particular actors like Madeline Kahn and all those, I just was like, this is like golden age of of just wacky comedy, and it was just nonstop for an hour and a half. And it just tickled my funny bone.
Never say that again. It was like a farce. Like if you go see a farce, like a play, that's what it played like a lot of people coming in and out of different doors and little things happening. But I mean, I'm nitpicking it. It's like, I'd rather see rapid fire comedy than no laughs at all, right? Like it's like not everything's gonna stick, but it was. I thought it was like it was funny. Like I laughed out loud quite a few times in it because some of it was pretty good. Like it was really well done.
And it's interesting that you say stage play, because that was something I had actually thought about as I was watching it. I thought this could easily have been done in a theater, like as a stage play. Like it was. I don't know if they ever did. I actually didn't look that up, but it would be very easy to translate this movie, like this entire script, onto a stage, because there are only a few rooms that they're operating in, so it'd be easy to transport between rooms, and it was just all slapstick, and it would be, I think it would be hilarious on a stage if you had the right cast. It
Yeah.
would be like to watch it live and to watch these people running around and being goofy. I think it would be a hilarious stage play. So I'm voting for that if anybody's listening. Put that together.
Any big producers on Broadway out there?
Yeah,
I
just
I bet
listening.
if we looked it up, I bet it's like a musical or something. It seems like something that would be a musical.
It might be, yeah. I just think it totally felt like that to me, and I would pay money to see that. Oh, and actually, I had just looked at my list. That was one of my hits.
Oh, what was it?
That would have felt like a stage play. that was one of my hits.
There you go. There you go.
There you go.
Another one of my hits was that I love the look and feel of this film.
Yes.
Like I like the gothicness of the house. Like the mansion was really cool. The way they looked, like they just fit into that sort of look. But I remember one thing as a kid that I loved about this movie, and I still love to this day, is I love secret passages.
Yeah.
Like I can't, and I remember specifically from this movie as a kid seeing these, like them going into these secret passages like you do in Clue into other rooms, and I always thought that was like the coolest thing. Like I thought that was so cool. But they take that, like the feel of Clue, and they made it real. Like it was like the way they did it with the passage, because when they were doing the secret passages, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this. But then I was also like, oh yeah, that's in the game too, because you can jump from like the conservatory to something or whatever it is. So
that's right. That was one thing that this movie did really well, is that they nailed the board game. Like everything in this movie, or everything in the board game is in this movie. Like the conservatory looked like the conservatory on the board that you're playing, and the library looked like the library. Like, and these passages and all, it just they nailed the game. Like it was incredible how they got all the little details from the game and made them real. But yeah, so those passages were perfect because they had to be in there because that's what's on the board.
Yeah. And the thing is, sometimes if they do something from a board game or from certain source material, you feel like you have to jam all this stuff in, and it doesn't make sense. But in this movie, it all made sense. Like like what they were using and what was going on, I thought was really like they did a good job at making it all seem to fit and make sense in it.
Yeah, absolutely. So another one of my hits was that I love the fact that it happens virtually in real time. So it's like they actually talk about, the police are going to show up in 39 minutes. So we have to hurry and figure this thing out. And then a little while later, they say the police are going to get here in 15 minutes. So we need to hurry up and, blah, blah, blah. And it's almost bang on. Like the whole thing literally is like 90 minutes of these people's lives.
It's like an episode of 24. Like they're just counting the clock down in the corner.
That's right. That's what it was. There were no flashbacks or anything like that. I mean, it was real time. Like these. So I think that is part of what made the pacing so good, is that they literally had like a deadline. Like they knew that, so they had to move fast. They had to. So that's why the goofiness and the wackiness worked for me, because they were just so frantic and having to
trying to get it all done.
Yeah, I thought that was cool, just knowing in real time. There was a little bit of like tension there, because they were like, oh my gosh, like, you hurry up, figure this out.
So good. That one thing I loved in this, and it was like, and I don't know how many movies have ever done this, was the alternate endings.
Right.
So there's three alternate endings to this movie. Yeah. And like the version I saw, I don't know, I read that each time you saw it, it was a different ending.
Well, they
theatrically.
Yes, what they did was they created these three endings, and they only sent one ending to each theater. So it depended on the theater that you went to see. So went to see it in, apparently. So you'd see it in like the downtown theater, and it would be one ending. If you go to like the suburbs and saw it in the theater, it would be a different ending. So that's how they did it originally. But then when they released it on home video, they tagged all three endings onto the movie itself,
which makes sense.
And put a card up between them that said, and it could have happened that way, but maybe it was this, and then they showed that ending. And then the last one, it said, it could have happened like that, but this is actually what happened. And then they show you the last one. And the last one is apparently the real one. But I can't think of any other movie that's ever done that. But
yeah, and it's a cool, it was a cool idea, because really when you play the game, there's again like 200 or 300 combinations of things that could happen, and they at least gave us three possibilities of things that could go.
And well, that's how the board game worked. There are, like you said, 24 different possibilities. So it makes sense that this movie had to have several different possibilities.
Yeah.
That'll make sense. However, here's a fun fact.
Oh, fun fact.
There was actually a fourth ending.
Okay.
That they didn't put in the movie because the director didn't think it quite worked. But not long afterwards, there was a storybook for kids that came out called Clue the Storybook. It was a tie-in book tied into the movie. And in that book, they actually included the fourth ending. So do you want to hear it?
Yeah.
Okay. So in that ending, Wadsworth, the Tim
Butler,
Curry, committed all the murders. He was motivated by his desire for perfection. Having failed to be either the perfect husband or the perfect butler, he decided to be the perfect murderer instead. Wadsworth reports that he poisoned the champagne the guests drank so they would all die soon, leaving no witnesses. The police and the FBI arrive, and Wadsworth is arrested. He breaks free and steals a police car, but his escape is thwarted when 3 police dogs lunge from the back seat. And that's
a little dark.
It's kind of dark, yeah. So that would have been the fourth ending, is that Wadsworth did all of it.
Oh, that's funny. That's cool.
But I think 3 was good. I think
3 was good. It was just kind of neat to see like the different, like, I mean, not did they all make sense? I don't know, but they're all fun. Like they're all fun endings. I mean, and that's where Howard Hesseman would come in as a cop each time and arrest whoever it was. And then but it was funny to see him keep coming in as the cop again for the next one, arresting somebody totally different. Like I love that. Yeah, it was so creative. It was so, like, when you look at a game like that, a board game like that, and you think, how could you possibly put this thing together? They did it. Like they nailed. That's how the game works. So I do have a couple of extra fun facts. Let's hear them. We can't finish the show without some fun facts. No, you can't. So here's a good one. Carrie Fisher was contracted to play Miss Scarlet. So she was originally going to be Miss Scarlet, but she withdrew to enter treatment for drug and alcohol addiction. Oh, wow. So that didn't really pay off. That was 1986, so she was really hitting it hard back then, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, so that was an interesting thing. Going back to the mansion, we all like the look of the mansion. The look, that was one of my hits too, was the look of the sets and the mansion and all of that. To decorate the interior sets, they used authentic 18th and 19th century furnishings that were rented from a private collector, including from the estate of Theodore Roosevelt. So, oh, wow. So some of the furniture in there actually belonged to Theodore Roosevelt. After they completed the movie, the whole set was bought by the producers of Dynasty, and it was used as the fictional hotel, the Carlton. So if you watch that show, you'll see the entire set of Clue as a hotel in that movie. Oh, that's interesting. Which I thought was kind of cool. Madeline Kahn. I love Madeline Kahn. I just think she's awesome. She has one of the funnier moments in the movie, and I've actually seen T-shirts made of this, when she's talking about the flame. There are flames coming. She's angry, and there are flames coming out. And the flames they're hot, and the flames are. It's just so, like, such a random thing. That whole scene was improvised. She didn't even have lines for that, so which is why it sounds so improvised. Is because she totally made it up and she went along, which I thought awesome. Was pretty funny. And finally, a remake of Clue has been in the works since 2011. They've been trying to remake. I was gonna say, like, when are they gonna, like, this seems like a perfect movie to redo. Yeah, well, it's still happening. And how's Seth Rogen going to be involved in it? I know. This seems like a total Seth Rogen, like, sort of thing. Like, you're close, except it's Ryan Reynolds. Okay, I'm pretty close. Reynolds but just this past August, they were still doing rewrites on the script, so it's still out there. Like, it's still a thing. It's still coming. So but I feel like, because like you had mentioned at the beginning, with the Knives Out sequel and all the Agatha Christie movies coming out, the Death on the Nile and all of those movies, Murder on the Orient Express, this would be the perfect time to re-release Clue.
And I feel like they probably will. So I wouldn't be surprised if in the next year or two we saw this movie come out.
Yeah, I would assume they do a brand new script because you can't just like recreate with like you couldn't. That's like magic in a bottle. This movie, you couldn't recreate it based on what they're doing. But that's awesome. That's cool. So I mean, obviously, I based on her hits and misses. Like I'm like nitpicking little things, but it held up for sure. Like and now I feel bad that I haven't watched it a lot over the last like 30 years because it's actually a really good movie. Like.
Really good, but it's kind of fun that we didn't watch it that much because I didn't remember the endings. Like I didn't.
No, I totally forgot it.
So it was kind of like watching it again for the first time. Like it was, I love the fact that I didn't remember all the stuff that was going to happen.
Yeah, it was good.
We can't forget to mention there's a really quick cameo by I can't remember her first name. Wheedlin.
Jane Whelan.
Jane Whelan from
the Go-Go's.
The Go-Go's plays a singing telegram girl who opens a door, sings like 2 bars of a song, and gets shot. And that's
which is so weird.
That's her whole. But that was kind of cool, like because I mean the Go-Go's were huge in 1985.
Yeah,
86. So it was kind of cool that she made an appearance too. Like this was.
Yeah, she would have been probably solo at that point, I would think. I think the Go-Go's, because the Go-Go's were like 82, like so. Yeah. I think she would have been just solo at that point. Like, she would have Rush Hour would have been out, that song with it.
Yeah,
I know way too much about her. I don't know why.
I really do.
I'll just leave it at that. it at that.
We did have to mention her. You couldn't go through the whole thing without mentioning.
Yeah, that's awesome. But yeah, just based on our thing, it totally holds up, 100%.
I really enjoyed that 90 minutes. That was a good, solid 90 minutes of fun.
Recommended from Loop and Larry. Go watch Clue again if you haven't seen it in a long time. It's so good. It's just so good. But but anyways, based on that, I'm gonna head to the conservatory soon. So
don't forget to take your candlestick.
I got the candlestick ready to go. I don't know. So if you look at the graphic for this episode, Larry's carrying a candlestick. And I'm like, who owns a full candlestick other than you? I'm like, I know for a fact I do not have a candlestick in this house. Like a full.
Luke's like, send me a picture and hold one of the weapons from the show. I'm like, I'll do candlestick.
I thought for sure you would have done like either a wrench or a knife. Like those seem to be like the easiest, or the old lead pipe.
No, and not only that, I had to choose between 2 different candlesticks. One of them was a bit too dark. It didn't show up in the picture, so I had to go with the other one.
and I had to I thought I would grab a wrench, and like I've never used a wrench in my entire life. Like mine in the picture, it looks like it's like brand new, like right off the shelf.
I'm pretty sure you can still see the price tag on that wrench. In the picture.
I don't do things with tools. I don't really have a lot of tools. I am a tool, but I don't do a lot of things with tools. So
that's a different story entirely.
Totally different. Different. Well, thanks so much for watching the show or listening to it as well on podcast. Right now you can see all of the socials, and thanks for following us. And we're probably gonna get one more episode in by the end of the year.
I'd say at least one, maybe 2.
But you never know. Sometimes we get on a roll. And then we don't go out, and then we're off a roll, and then
we're all over the place. But I think we're back on the roll again.
I think the roll is continuing because we got to do a couple. We got to do at least one like bad Christmas movie. That's
we do have a good Christmas movie coming up, so we maybe
let's do one good and one bad. I think that's like
that's a good idea.
Or one movie like a Die Hardish that's not really a Christmas movie, like a Batman 2.
Yes. And we'll start that debate all over again. That'll be great.
There we go. Is this a Christmas movie or is it not a Christmas movie? That's the question. So thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time on Loop and Larry, Guardians of Geek.
Bye-bye.
Produced by Matthew C. Loop and Lawrence Simner. A Loop and Larry production.
Bueller.
He likes it. Hey, Mikey.
Bueller.
Bad news. The fog is getting thicker.
And Leon's getting larger.
Inconceivable.
Brian's right. It's an elf.
Wax on.
Does Barry Manilow know that you raid his wardrobe?
Oh, Captain, my captain.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Wax off.